You're welcome back. Still 1-1 in the Champions League. Midtjylland 1, Liverpool 1, 80 minutes on the clock. We're turning to Limerick Waterford, 3:30 Sunday All-Ireland Hurling final on, a cold December afternoon. Not what we're used to. But hey, we've got ourselves a final. Shane McGrath, All-Ireland winner with us. Hello.
Hey Joe, how's the farm?
Yeah, very good, very good, very good. So these weeks before All-Ireland finals, you know what they're like. They strike me as tricky enough weeks to get through. Might help the players a little bit that the hype isn't in overload as it would be in the midst of September with everyone running around.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll be a big help to Watford, Joe. Anyway, the Limerick boys, I suppose they've had success in an All-Ireland final recently, and you know I don't think it would have phased them too much. But as regards as a player, like what goes on this week, well, you're not worrying, but you're trying to get the suits organised, your own bag, and very, very importantly, your partner's bag. So, I mean, that's a big thing as well. Tickets are an issue. The clothes for the following day. All these things, and they only come around with All-Ireland finals. So, they're all things that the Waterford lads don't have to worry about this week. And I think it's only an advantage to them. And I think Liam Cahill will manage them very, very well. And all they'll have to worry about is themselves. And, you know, massive, massive boost that the whole panel can go. Even for players running out into a pitch, Joe, you know, having those 5 or 6 or maybe 10 extra bodies there. I know Limerick do it all the time. They clap the lads out into the field, and you're running out past them, and you're kind of looking, and you're going, "Look, I'm the lucky one here that gets to play here today, and I'm going to do it for these guys." Because let's be honest, it's all about that circle and those group of lads really that's there in the muck and the rain when the rest of us are cozied up by the fire, like in the winter months or in the early parts of the year. So I think that'll be a big bonus for both sides, having all the panel there and knowing what it means to everybody involved. But as regards all the side shows that would go on, normally, Joe, I think Watford will be very happy and Liam Cahill will be very happy that they're not going on this week.
I would put it to you, though, that despite all that, there are still legitimate worries over how Waterford will handle this occasion, because they had none of the hype, none of the crowd, none of the ticket dilemmas and the partner's bag dilemmas ahead of the semi-final against Kilkenny, and something about that occasion got to them. And the first 20 minutes, they were up for the game, they were going hard, but composure was at a minimum. There were terrible wides, there was bad shot selection, there were handling errors, they were just off, they were jumpy, they were nervy. Now, so no crowd, no hype, no tickets, nothing there. The occasion itself got to them. So why won't an All-Ireland final get to them is the worry I would have.
I think the last day, the semi-final, that they would have learned a lot, and for a lot of them, their first time playing for the Watford senior team in Croke Park. And I just think the belief they have in the system, like, I mean, you think about it that day, and look, they didn't start well at all. They actually, it was the very opposite. It was terrible, their start, but it was the mental strength they showed. Like, I mean, before, like, that teams would have collapsed in All-Ireland semi-finals that go 8-9 points down against Kilkenny, and this was their 3rd week in a row hurling as well. But the mental strength they showed to come back from it, and just to say, look, we just need to trust the system. We need a really good system. We need to just keep doing the right things with the ball. They were getting on ball. They were just taking terrible shot selections. And lads were nervous. That was very evident when Jake Dillon got taken off after 15 minutes. He was just nervous. It was very tetchy. So I think that will stand to them massively for the next day. And whatever maybe nervousness or tension there was there from playing a big game in Croke Park, I don't think we'll see that this time. I really, really don't. And, you know, you'll have the experience of the guys there from, like Kevin Moore and these guys who were there in 17 as well, you know, playing in an All-Ireland final. But I think the last day will stand to them no end, mentally, if nothing else, Joe.
Two schools of thought on Limerick. They're either not quite firing this year and they're getting by, or else they're so superior they're just cruising in 3rd, 4th gear, and if they need to, they'll go into 5th, 6th. Yeah,
you know, that's kind of that's the way I'm kind of looking at them, you know.
The latter.
They don't really need to be scoring goals to win these games. They've only scored 3 goals in the championship this year, and they scored 3 of them against Tip. They scored 111 points, which is fair old tipping. And you look at Watford. In Watford, they've scored a goal in every game, bar the Munster final, which was against Limerick. But I just feel like is the ultimate unit performance coming from the Limerick forwards? And what do I mean by that? Well, like say in the Munster final, their full forward line were on fire, and they scored 9 points from play. And then you fast forward to the All-Ireland semi-final and their full forward line only scored 3 points from play, and Graham Mulcahy got taken off after 39 minutes. And then in the All-Ireland semi-final, their half-forward line scored 11 points from play in the semi-final against Galway, whereas in the Munster final, their half-forward line only scored 3 points from play. Like, what I'm saying is, if this forward unit perform as a whole unit, like, and I think it could be coming in the final, like they could put up a serious score. I mean, they're scoring 27 points, 24 points, 323. But in the last two matches in particular, only one of their forward lines has performed. That if all 6 of their forwards on the field are performing at the same time, you know, they could put up a serious score here at the weekend. Like,
because you would say in the semi-final, Galway dictated the terms and played a sweeper and tried to prevent it becoming a goal fest. And Limerick said, fine, we can play it both ways. And so they picked them off, and you've got Morrissey and Groach Hegarty. I think they contributed 9 points from play between the two of them. And, you know, Keane Lynch in the Munster final was man of the match. He popped up with scores from distance. So, you know, if Waterford want to go sweeper, then Limerick can absolutely play shootout from out the field. If Waterford don't go sweeper, if they play a more progressive game for whatever reason, I mean, Limerick will go for goals, won't they?
Oh, they will, yeah, absolutely. Like, and like they can score goals, and like you're looking down at kind of the finals down through the years about goals, like, and do goals win finals? Well, the bar 2 times since 2000. The team that won the All-Ireland didn't score a goal. It was Galway in 2017, they scored 26 points. And it was Cork in 2004, they scored 17 points. So for me, that's 17 other finals where the team that wins score goals. So by going by the law of averages, whoever wins the All-Ireland final at the weekend will need to score a goal or two. Limerick scored 3 goals when they won 2 years ago. Like, I do think they are creating goal chances. I thought David Reedy had a super goal chance the last day. Flanagan had a goal chance as well against Galway. Kyle Hayes had the kind of rebound. So, you know, they had a few good goal chances, good saves by Anna Murphy. So they have it in the locker to go for goals. And you know what? Like, if it's a thing that Waterford do, maybe push Tadhg to work a little bit more up the field. I don't think they will. I think it's working well for him that he will kind of sit deeper. But if they do find that space, you know, they have serious potential for getting a few goals. If a Limerick team scores 2-3 goals, you're talking about them winning a match by 7, 8, 9 points. Okay. Because of what they have, like, you know.
The Munster final between these two was a 4-point gap, but there were no goals scored, 25 points to 21. What we saw from Waterford in the second half against Kilkenny in the semi-final was direct running, going for goals, you know, attack at all costs, be ruthless at all costs. Do you suspect that we'll see that attitude from them, from the off on Sunday? That going for broke, you know, honest mistakes is the phrase a few of the players have used. That's obviously what Liam Cahill is saying to them, that, you know, to go for it a bit more. Do you think we'll see that from the off on Sunday, as opposed to against Kilkenny in the semi-final? There was a degree of, like, we just have to go for it now.
Well, I think, like, if Galway had that attitude, Joe, that, you know, we can actually match this team and, you know, we can take them on and beat them. And, like, they had David Burke as a sweeper. So I think the mentality will have to be that we are good enough to beat this team and that we have the players to do it. And I think they have a coach in Mikey Beavens that will set them up very well. I mean, I just look at the two teams this year, Joe, and it's almost like we're looking at a different style of hurling even from what we had a few years ago. And, like, what do I mean by different style of hurling? Like, I mean, players nowadays, you look at the Dublin footballers, for example, they kind of mark a man and a half. I think that's what the tagline I've heard being used. They mark a man and a half. They're forwards, you know. I think that the two teams coming up against each other at the weekend, that they will set up that you won't actually see them marking players much. The forwards won't mark the backs too much or anything, or midfielders even. What they'll do is they'll mark space and they'll mark channels of space. So you'll have the likes of, you know, Jack Fagan, maybe Montgomery when he comes on the field, Stephen Bennett when he gets out there, you know, and then on the flip side of that, Hegarty and Morrissey, they'll allow the full back lines of the opposing teams to get the ball, and you'll see them marking channels of space and trying to cut out the distribution channels rather than actually marking the player. So I think Waterford will set up like that, and Limerick will as well. But to go back and answer your question, I think Waterford are going to go for this because they're playing with confidence and they're playing with belief. Like, they're working harder than I've ever seen them work before as a team, as a unit. And because they're working so hard as a team, and when I say team, like Liam Sheedy used to always use the kind of analogy with us, team, together everyone achieves more. Everyone has heard it, but it is true, like. And because they're working as a team and the man in the best position is getting the ball and they're playing with confidence, like, the most they've ever scored in championship history in Croke Park was the last day against Kilkenny. And that'll just tell you where they're at. And I think they'll use the confidence from that. And I think they will really, really be going for it. Like, let's be honest, everybody, like Limerick will be favourites, and rightly so. And a lot of people will be tipping Limerick to win it. So Waterford will really have a go at this. And under Liam Cahill and Mikey Beavens, in Tipperary especially, we know, like, the All-Irelands they've won as minors, under 21 and under 20 manager and coach, they've been underdogs for all those matches. And they've especially the under 21 final in 2018, they were probably playing the greatest Cork under 21 team since the days of Donal Logue, Sean Oak and these guys. And they went in and it was goals. It was goals that won them the game, Joe. They scored 3 goals that day. Last year even our Tip 20s went down and played Cork in the Gaelic grounds. Very, very strong Cork under 20 team. Tip scored 5 goals. The game was over at half time. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to have they're going to go for it. And they're going to feel, and everyone will feel, I suppose, they're going to need 2 or 3 goals to try and win this All-Ireland final. And I think you're going to see them really, really go for that early on in the game, like, as well.
So you've mentioned Mikey Beavens a few times. I know you were at the semi-finals in the stadium, so you'd have a sense of what Paul Kinnerk is bringing to the party from a Limerick point of view. What's he about? Because there is the added aspect now to management whereby you're getting to talk to your players in a calm moment for 2 minutes with the water break in each half, which is a huge change. Maybe we can overestimate the change, like John Kiley said a few times, listen, we actually had picked things up before a water break. It wasn't because of the water break. So there's correlation, there's causation with all this stuff. But the fact remains, the likes of Kinnerk is getting his hands on the team for those 2 minutes each half.
Oh yeah, like, I think Kinnerk and Beavens are the two of the best in the game at the moment, coaching wise, tactically wise. To see a game from a player's point of view, to get feedback from players and see what's the best way to set out. And I think that's why they're top of their game. That's why Paul Kinnerk is going for his 3rd senior All Ireland as a coach. I think he's won 3 All Irelands under 21 with Clare as well. So this guy is phenomenal. I love listening to him. They will get them in, and I think what you'll notice about him is the players will say very, very little in the water breaks. Because for 2 reasons, you want them to come in and get the recovery. Well, exactly, Joe. The manager wants them to come in to recover and relax. But it's also because both sets of players have massive, massive respect for the coaches. And they know, right, if they tell me to do something here, it will work because it's worked before and I trust them. So that minute and a half, maybe 2, if you're pushing it and trying your best to get it out there, the likes of Paul Kinnerk and Mikey Beavens, the 1 or 2 things they could say, and they will keep it to 1 or 2 things. They won't bombard guys with 4 or 5 things. The 1 or 2 things they could say, you could find would make a massive difference to them. And just talking about the water breaks, Joe, like quickly, like we talk about this 3rd quarter being championship quarter, and I just find it fascinating. I was just reading down through it, like, Waterford have won the 3rd quarter in every one of their games.
Yeah, they even won it in the Munster final. Yeah.
They did against Limerick. I suppose Limerick responded then and they won the 4th quarter. And Limerick have only lost 1 quarter, and that was against Waterford. They drew a quarter, the 3rd quarter against Tip. They won the 3rd quarter 10 points to 1-3 against Clare, and they won the 3rd quarter 6 points to 3 against Galway. But you'll find, I think this will be close Sunday. And the team that has a really good 3rd quarter, like if Waterford have a 3rd quarter anything like they had against Kilkenny, 1-11 to 4 points. I mean, the confidence that gives you going into that water break, and you're an All-Ireland final and you're going down the home straight, and you look around and both managers have 4 to 5 guys that if they need to bring them on in the last quarter, they will make a difference. I mean, look at Waterford subs did the last day, they scored 1-2. Limerick subs came on the last day and they contributed 3 points. So if it does come down to a panel game, you have 2 very, very strong panels. But I think the 3rd quarter will be big in regards to the confidence it'll give the group coming into the final straight, and the managers knowing that, right, this is close, this is great confidence now. Do you know what? Let's get the finishers on here now and drive this thing home. And I just think tactically it's going to be a fascinating battle Sunday as well, Joe.
And do you think there's anything in that 3rd quarter thing? Like from a Waterford point of view, I'd be saying, well, I'd be no more confident that they'd win the 3rd quarter on Sunday than I would be if, they'd won half the 3rd quarters this season. Like, it's such a small sample size, and it's not like they're setting out to lose the 2nd quarter.
Yeah.
I'd be inclined to think it's just one of those things. As opposed to anything they're doing, really.
Yeah. No, look, I don't think there's no teams like setting out their stall that we have to win the 3rd quarter. But I just think, it has been a defining quarter in a lot of the championship games we've had. But as you said, rightly so, it's not a huge selection we have to take from. The season has the matches have been less, the season has been shorter. But I just think the confidence that whoever does win the third quarter does seem to carry on usually, and it does set you up well. Like, I mean, if you can have a good third quarter and you're going into the last 15, 16 minutes of a game, and maybe you're 4 or 5 points up, especially in an All-Ireland final.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The mindset is different. It's an All-Ireland final. You're 4 or 5 points up, 15, 60 minutes to go. You're kind of thinking to yourself, if we don't give away a goal here, we have a massive, massive chance of winning this. Like.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of matchups then, like, that was very interesting what you're saying about the way they're marking space every bit as much as men these days. But Gillette is back in training, we're hearing, and so you would suspect they'll definitely risk him on Sunday. So what are the big matchups you're looking out for here on Sunday then? What should we be keeping an eye on?
I think if I just talk about two guys in particular who've kind of transformed the half-back line thing, they've taken it to almost football levels in their attacking modes. Calum Lyons and Kyle Hayes are two of the most attacking wing backs I've seen in hurling ever, really. Like, Calum Lyons, I think, has scored something like 1-4, 1-5 in the championship from play this year. Kyle Hayes, we know he's no stranger to the forward line, but I think that middle third is going to be absolutely crazy town. I mean, Limerick don't seem to be too concerned about man marking. That was pretty obvious from they didn't man mark Tony Kelly. Like, they know that they'll be strong enough when they'll trust each other when whoever comes into their zone, that the guy will do a job and he'll do his best for the team and he'll mark that guy. So I just think it'll be fascinating to see, how will Jamie Barron, if Jake Dillon gets a start or Kieran Bennett gets a start in midfield, how will they fare out against William O'Donoghue? Will Darragh O'Donovan start? Will David Reedy come in? I think Cian Lynch, while he was quiet for a lot of the game the last day, he's still so effective at 11 in the ball he wins and his vision and the flicks he gets off to oncoming midfielders and half forwards. So Limerick could look at leaving him there as well because will that force Tadhg de Burka out the field? So that's a fascinating one for me. Will Tadhg de Burka be forced to come out and pick up Cian Lynch if he's getting on an awful lot of ball, or will he trust one of his midfielders to pick him up? Another big one for me is Gillette. Will Conor Prunty or will maybe Shane McNulty pick him up? Gillette, they say, is 50-50, but I mean, he's going to play the game. Yeah. Is he 100% fit, I suppose, is the thing. I don't think anyone else, Joe, can do the Gillette role for Limerick as good as Gillette does. That role, that single role up there on his own, winning ball no matter what way it comes in. So that'll be a very interesting one. And also, Austin Gleeson, like if Austin is 14, will they trust Dan Morrissey to mark him, because he's done such a good job at 3, or will they say, Sean Finn, here's a guy that's maybe one of the top guys for kind of just being detailed to do a job on a forward. So I think the matchups are fascinating, and what way the teams are going to be. I mean, like Peter Casey could get a start because, I mean, he was a man of the match for him there in the Munster final. I know he got taken off towards the end, but like, will John Kiley and Kinnerk look at him to say, look, this guy plays well against Waterford, will we get Peter Casey on the field? So look, I think the matchups will be brilliant, Joe.
Yeah, for sure. So, final thoughts, Shane McGrath. I mean, we have our Munster final and we have Limerick 4 points clear, and always kind of had Waterford at arm's length. And as you said, they are favourites for this final and they can definitely improve. There is a sense, though, that Waterford are a different team to that Munster final team. There's more belief. There was just electricity about them in the semi-final. So it's about to what extent they've improved, maybe. Can they bridge that gap with Limerick? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm just, as I said to you earlier, I'm just thinking that if this Limerick forward unit perform as a unit, as in all of them, and then you have the guys to come on. If Flanagan doesn't start, he'll come on. If Peter Casey doesn't start, he'll come on. Like, Graham Mulcahy will feel that he has a big point to prove. So if the Limerick forward units perform, I can't see anything but a Limerick victory. I do feel it will be close. Watford have proven that. It is very hard to beat the same team twice as well. But I just feel that because it was the forwards Limerick have with their midfielders backing them up, if they perform, and I feel a performance is coming out of them, I think that'll get them over the line. Be also interested quickly, Joe, about the ref, Fergal Horgan. He's been known to let things go. But like, I was looking at the stats, like there was 14 frees scored in the 2017 final. There was 17 frees scored last year in the final, typical Kenny. So, while he does have this thing that people seem to let it go, he does pull for frees as well. So, but it'll be interesting to see how he does he does identify between intensity and fouling, especially in the middle third, where, as we said, the Tom Morrisseys, Garrod Hegarty's, the Jack Fagans and Stephen Bennett's of this world are going to be colliding. So, but look, I said Limerick at the start of the year, and I'm going to stick with that. And a big team performance coming from Limerick on Sunday.
Well, here's hoping we'll get a great final. Shane McGrath, enjoy it. We'll talk to you next week, I suspect. Thanks a mil.
Cheers, Joe. Thanks a mil.
Off the ball on News Talk.
At Audi, we know some drivers go to extremes to show they love their car. Well, now there's an easier way. Introducing the all-new Audi service subscription. Enjoy 2 Audi services plus a full vehicle health check, 12 months roadside